To the Danni Vee Show, Kylie. What an honour to have Kylie Ryan on the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, my love. It's so great to see you flourish and shine and having your own podcast. And it's a joy. It feels like a full circle moment, Danni.
It really is. And I will talk about it later to everybody that's listening, the impact that you've had on my life, because there's so many milestones. And I literally speak about you all the time to my clients and the impact that a wonderful coach can have on you. And it's been a really long time. And we were just talking before the podcast that I think it was 15 years ago I did my first work with you when I did my NLP training before the cool kids were doing it.
Before the cool kids were doing it. Yeah, but we worked together. Didn't we even Goddess Body Quest before that?
Yes. Oh, my goodness.
So that would have been Goddess
That
Body
was the one. That was the one that was...
that was the health program.
17, 18 years ago, wasn't it?
So that was 17 years. That would have been 17 years ago.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was applied, like using all the NLP techniques, but applied to personal growth and health. And that's where we first came across each other.
Crazy.
So
very
fun.
exciting. Very exciting.
So
okay, so let's dive into some questions. First question I want to ask you is because you have been in the coaching industry before it was this big mainstream thing that everybody calls themselves a coach these days.
Yes.
And it's a big thing that you and I are very passionate about. And I know a lot of people that listen to me know I am, and everybody that listens to you knows that you are also. So what would be your concern mostly about the coaching industry today?
I think the challenge with the coaching industry has always been, in many instances, the skills that you need to be a really great coach are different from the skills that you need to be a really great business owner of coaching and marketer and seller of coaching. And so I think that's a real, not that there aren't great marketers who are also great coaches, but it is often not the case that they are one and the same thing. And so the challenge is that then the most loud marketers that are getting the most attention, that are selling the most people into coaching, are often subpar coaches and are more interested in coaching as a business opportunity, as a really great way to make a high profit business, than being really genuinely caring about the outcomes of every single client that they come across. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but I think as well with AI, there is it's so easy for someone to pretend to have expertise that they don't have now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy. Like
so
it was always
well said.
Right? It's so easy for someone to pretend to have expertise that they don't actually have. And I think there's a big kind of thing in the coaching industry about like we're in a trust recession because people are more skeptical, as they should be, and people are not so willing to hand over huge high ticket sums for coaches without doing more due diligence, which I also think is very important. We must do our due diligence and we must be skeptical because there's been a competence recession rather than a trust recession. It's like there's been a lot of people who are not competent as coaches really spruiking about how amazing they are and then selling people into programs that are subpar. And I think the challenge here is that if you don't come from a real point of service, then you're not really understanding that coaching does cross over with mental health. And, and so if people are undereducated and underskilled about what is actually required of a good coach and what is required to help someone get to an outcome, then people who are sometimes even well-meaning, sometimes a lot of people in the coaching industry, they're not malicious, they're not trying to do the wrong thing by people in many cases. There's just, it's a cognitive bias. It's called the Dunning-Kruger bias. And so it means that the less skilled you are, my things mirrored, the less skilled you are, the more likely you are to not know how incompetent you are. And so you like have more confidence the less competent you are. And then as you get more competent, you actually get less confident because you're like, oh my God, there's so many things I don't know and so much I still need to learn. And you've got humility about it, and then finally it kind of comes back up at the other end where you're like, oh no, I do have mastery and I do know what I'm talking about. And I then have confidence from lived experience of genuine mastery. So I think the kind of short version of this for people who are looking for a coach is to really take your time in choosing a coach and do your due diligence and look at what are the genuine qualifications that this person has? Have they shown a commitment to learning over a long period of time, and do they embody their work? You know, like you and I, we've been in this now for, like, I've been 23 years. You've been in this for a really long, like at least 20 years. And then in coaching and mindset and personal transformation for 17 or so years.
Long time.
So you've been in it for a long time. You've gone through your own personal journey, as have I. And you've demonstrated that commitment to ongoing learning with different teachers and different masters to create your own unique methodology. And I think we really do need to be wary of anyone using high pressure sales tactics or like super fast kind of high persuasion type of strategies. I think we need to be really wary of that these days.
And I've been caught in so many of that, even as a coach.
For sure.
I've been caught up in all of that before.
Yeah.
And there's just so many different layers as well for me as a coach, because I coach so many, same person, but different niche type of things. You know, we're talking about niche, but it's the same person that I coach. It's just either executives or leaders. They're all leaders in their business or in, in a job.
Yeah.
What would you say separates a truly great coach to someone that's good at marketing themselves?
Well, truly great coach, like this is because I do train coaches, and I have kind of 3 pillars that I teach as the main pillars of what makes a really great coach, what I call a super coach, right? That is a super coach. And the first one is mastery, right? That there is genuine competence and skill mastery. And I think a lot of people come into coaching when they have a level of a result or some kind of subject matter expertise. Like, for instance, a business coach coming into business coaching because they've run a business, they've run a successful business, and that's great. They have competence and expertise to share from their lived experience, but that's a mentor. That's not actually a coach. And so they don't actually, unless they have gone on to do other education, they won't necessarily have coaching skills to be able to really effectively impart that knowledge to people who are not already like them. They'll be very effective at mentoring people who are similar to them, but very ineffective at mentoring people who are different than them or who require different things to them. And that's where I think the skills of a trained coach really knocks it out of the park, because as a trained coach, you learn how to work with all different types of clients, with all different ways of thinking and all different ways of perceiving the world. And you learn how to help people deal with their unconscious blocks and limitations, which everybody has. Whereas if you are just a subject, not just, but if you are a subject matter expert or even a consultant that has great strategies, you might have great strategies, but struggle to support your clients to implement those strategies if they have any kind of resistance or if they are different than the way that you would do it, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so I think that's a real challenge, because then people will look to someone and go, oh, they've got a great result. I should hire them because I want that result too. But that doesn't necessarily, like, being able to get the result yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you have the skills to coach someone else to get that same result.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole different skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for coaches too, like, to be a great coach, from my opinion, is to have that active listening. So we call it active listening. It's just actually listening to the person instead of waiting to give the answer, because I believe that as a mentor, you're like, well, I've got the answer. So they're not actually listening to what the person is saying in front of them, and they miss so much.
Exactly.
I've even noticed that as a client in a coaching situation, and then the coach turns around and says, be coachable. It's like, be a coach.
Be a coach and I'll be coachable, right? It's like,
it's not my fault as the client that you can't coach me.
You're trying to shove advice down my throat without even asking me what I need, right? It's like, that's coaching skills. You need to have active listening skills. You need to ask questions. You need to understand how to reframe. You need to understand change techniques and how to help people integrate the lessons. I think of it like, I came up with this metaphor the other day because I was teaching, I was giving a speech for a bunch of fitness coaches and trying to teach this idea around the active listening and the asking questions rather than just giving advice. It's like someone comes in and says, I need to lose weight. And they're like, yes, okay, great. I've got the best strategy for you. Let me tell you all the macros and all the things you need to do. And it's like, okay, you might have the best program in the world for helping this person, But
Mm-hmm.
until you actually ask questions and understand why the person wants that particular outcome, why they want to lose weight, why they want to get fit, why they want to, change their life, change their body, then you're not, it's like you're throwing beautiful seeds on dry, hard ground and they're just going
Exactly.
to blow away in the wind, right? But if you ask questions and you go deeper and you ask, like, find out what's meaningful to this person, then it's like you're tilling the soil and getting the person actually ready to receive the
I love
advice,
that analogy. That's
right? Then you
amazing.
ask questions, till the soil. And then when they're ready and they're like, yes, please, I want to know how to do this, then you can go, well, I've got this great strategy. You might want to try it out. And then it's like, bing, the seed goes in and it's got, it's got the right environment to actually thrive. So it's like till the soil with questions and then know the right time to plant the seed, and then
Mm,
obviously water and support the
yes.
seed with encouragement and integration and, those types of things. But I think so many people are like, here, I've got all these great seeds. Why am and my clients are so uncoachable. It's like, no, like you say, if you coach,
You find the way. You guide. You guide. How are you
find,
going to guide?
you find the way. Yeah. So I think that's a real issue in the coaching industry and it affects the whole industry. And I think there's really an issue between just people misunderstanding the words and the confusion around the difference between a coach, a consultant, a mentor, a facilitator, a teacher. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're the kind of main, or even like a healer or a therapist. Like they're all the different categories of types of help that you could get. And some of them cross over and some people might do multiple things. But if you don't know what you're being when you're in that role as a coach or therapist or advisor, and you don't know what you're looking for when you're a client, it often creates these mismatches and not very good situations. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
So
I really love that
mastery,
metaphor.
right? Isn't it a good one? I was like,
Yeah.
yes, that's really good. I'm so glad. I love when I come up with a good metaphor. It's like, yes.
You come up with many. You're very good at it. Very good. About so many different elements there where I get it because, I've worked with you so much with the integration and the questioning and even the healing part of
Yeah.
coaching. You always, I believe that really great coaches are healers as well because they understand what the client in front of them needs.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you a question about how a lot of the work that we do, people call woo. And I'll tell you a really funny
Yes.
story because
Yeah.
I just finished my certification for professional hypnotherapist. So that's 3 levels. That's a lot of study
So
and
good.
a lot of work. And I told some
Hypnotherapy is
people
so good.
that I was working with, I've just finished my professional hypnotherapy. And this one guy says to me, oh, right, so I haven't really ever gotten into tarot cards before. Laughed
Oh,
so
bless.
hard because
Bless.
obviously it's the idea of it. And then I thought, oh, that's just a one off. And then I said it to somebody else and the same thing. They're like, oh, so do you just do you read the future and stuff now? And I'm like, no, I don't know how to do that. I've got
What?
skills to. And so you have always been very deeply spiritual
Yes.
and you definitely are a healer and you're very, very good at what you do. And you
Thank you.
do work with really high corporate people. The types of clients that you have are astounding. How do you bring that woo
Yes.
into coaching and into the corporate land and have it accepted by that elite clients that you have?
Thank you. That's some nice things you said. I appreciate that. Yeah, I work mostly with founders of companies. So I'm not typically working within kind of an organization. I'm mostly working with the CEO. And so I think there's some interesting conversations here and there's kind of an assumption which is, very societally and culturally reinforced, I guess, which is that within corporate culture, there's no space for anything that is esoteric or anything that is spiritual, and it needs to be empirically validated and quantifiable and kind of corporate structure and all of those things.
I do.
But I find that a lot of people, particularly at the highest levels, but in all levels of leadership, that there is a progression of personal evolution that people go
Mm.
through, where at some point they naturally start to reach for deeper meaning. And a lot of people have found we are in a secular society, the separation of church and state. And there has been a radical decline in people identifying as religious over the years, and an increase in people identifying as kind of spiritual or having some kind of connection to spirit that goes beyond organized religion. And so I think that creates an interesting culture, a cultural gap where people's spiritual and meaning making needs are not being met by current societal norms. And so like people used to go to church on a Sunday, and we're within Western culture, so it's like with it church on a Sunday and go and kind of speak to the priest and have their confession, and that was a way of getting spiritual needs met. And so we're in this kind of explosion of the internet and AI and social media. And so people are kind of following these individual streams of information, and there's just a lot that's out there. And so I think people are at once seeking deeper meaning, also confused about all of the plethora of information that is available nowadays, right? Confused about that. And then, within high levels of leadership, there's a huge amount of stress and pressure that is put on the leader to be responsible for the company, for the revenue outcomes, for the profitability, for getting projects done on time. And so there's a huge amount of stress that the leaders carry. So I kind of have the belief that spirituality is just meaning making, and it's about your connection to something greater than yourself. Whether you want to call that God or spirit or the quantum field doesn't really matter to me, because I know that they're all the same thing. It's like,
yes.
they're actually just different terms of like different ways of accessing something that is
Understanding it.
greater than ourselves, right? It's like when you look into quantum physics very deeply, certainly not claiming to try and explain quantum physics to anybody, but when you look into quantum physics, we understand that our observation has an effect on our reality, right? At the base level. When we look
Your
at
perception is your reality.
your perception shapes your reality, right? Your perception shapes your reality. And so that seeking for deeper meaning is a part of what helps us to get out of our own way in many ways. Because if you start a company because you have some deeper purpose or some greater mission that you can't accomplish on your own, it's like that's the reason to start a company, because you want to do something that requires a whole company of people to do it. And so it's something greater than yourself. So I think people who start companies like this are naturally more visionary people. And more visionary people are often more mission-led, even if in the first instance, the mission is, I want to get this product out to the world, or I want to make a huge revenue because I want to see how big I can make my wealth. Like whatever starting point, it doesn't really matter. But eventually people reach a point where when their material needs are met to the degree where it's like, once you've got a house and you've got a car and you've got food on your table and you've got clothes in your thing and you've got all of your material needs met. And I coach people like this a lot. It's like, what's another $1 million? It's not actually going to make any difference to my quality of life at this point. And so what is the reason to keep striving? What is the reason to keep expanding when all of your personal needs are met? Well, you need to start looking at a mission that goes beyond yourself.
Oof,
And
I just got goosebumps.
right?
And so
That's where it comes in.
what is the question? This is very exciting for me. What is the question that they come to you with then? Because are they that spiritually aware that that's what they're needing, or are they coming to you feeling?
Not often.
What is the question they come to you with?
It's often a pain-driven question. So, that's often what makes people buy coaching, is that there is some kind of gap between where they are and where they want to be. So people often come in, they've got all of their, material needs met, and maybe they're making a good revenue, but they're feeling disconnected from their partner at home and they can't switch off at the end of the day. And they're feeling like something's missing. And so it's like, oh, I feel like there's something more out there, but I don't know what it is. And so they've kind of reached the end of their own logic and they've reached the end of their own strategy. And so people get to the point where it's like, I've tried this 1,000 different ways to do this strategically and it's not getting the result. Or I'm like, I've tried the meditation and the breath work and I've tried the biohacking and I've tried going to counseling and I've tried different things. And, or I've been working like a crazy person and driving my team really hard and we've got problems with team culture or things like that. And so there's often some kind of catalyst, whether it's a relationship, stress or demise or a health issue or just this kind of gnawing existential angst. And that's really where I come in, and I call it a developmental phase shift. And so it means that when you've reached a certain level of economic success within a business, that's in spiral dynamics terms, which is a map of evolutionary consciousness. When you reach a certain level of success, the next phase is to become more altruistic. You look at someone like Bill Gates is a perfect example, right? He spent years building computer systems and tinkering to create amazing computer systems. And then he grew Microsoft to be a huge, like, giant in the tech industry and making millions and billions of dollars. And then he's like, okay, we've got success there. I've created success in this company. Now what's next? Like, what's the next thing I can turn my attention to? And so then he starts a charity and is starting to look at world disease and hunger and stuff like that. And so it's like real visionary leaders are looking at what problems can they solve. And once they've reached a certain level of success in their own personal life and their own companies, then there might be some kind of personal life problem that needs addressing and needs support, or a sense of like, there's something else out
like
there.
that
There's
collective
something greater for me. There's something greater for me. There's some bigger challenge for me, but I don't know how to explore that without endangering my company and my revenue stream. So there's kind of like this tension between how do I expand into this next version of myself without it compromising my company and all the people that rely on me and all the payroll that I need to cover and those types of things. So there's this kind of inner tension. And that's what I help people with, is to integrate that so that they can keep their company running or either sell the company or get an external managing director or CEO, and so that they can eventually move on to whatever their next thing is or find deeper meaning in the role that they're already in.
That's so very exciting. And
Yeah.
it's very similar to what I do, but not at all.
Of course. Yeah.
Because
Of course.
I help business owners with that next level of identity. So they're obviously not at the stage that your people are at, where they're wanting to go on to have that bigger vision of having that greater impact. They do want to have a greater impact,
Of
but they
course.
don't know what that level of identity is. And I find that work so very exciting, because once
It's
they
so
find
great.
that and you guide them, they find it. It's
Yeah.
very, very exciting to witness, like, them discover
good.
that. Yeah. So that's amazing.
It's so good. I mean, it's totally an identity shift. You know, it's from that like success driven founder into some kind of maybe philanthropist or investor or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
community guardian or something like that. Or there's all sorts of, like, obviously the individual person is unique. One of my clients, I took them through a big transformational process about 4 years ago, and then they transformed their company and ran that for a year. And then they ended up selling the company and going on sabbatical for a few years and doing some like deep dive into their own relationships and marriage. And then now have come back and are doing coaching in the relationship space and happier than ever been before. So it's like we're just constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to work with people who are really go-getters and who are very driven, because I find that when I'm working with someone who has a big vision and who is a great action taker, then my work can have a greater impact on the world through these people. The more I can support them to align with their greatest self and their true mission and their real spirit, then that will come through everything that do.
I
Love
really
working with
love that,
people in that
Carls.
way.
And I
Yeah.
do, like, I do notice a lot now that people are more open to that type of work as well. They really, like you said, they want to have that spiritual connection. They want to understand who they are better so
Yeah.
that they can understand the world better because of the world that we're in right now.
It's a
And
very
it's,
uncertain time. So,
yeah, yeah, that's so
yeah.
exciting. So
It really
exciting.
is. It really is. And I think there's some interesting developments in terms of how psychology has been developing and just how culture is evolving, that breath work is a little bit more commonplace these days. It's not some crazy woo-woo esoteric thing. And, psychedelic therapy is legalized now in
Yeah,
Australia. And so I think there's a lot more open-mindedness around, or at least awareness
yeah,
around, that there is something deeper than just the things that we can see and touch and our
yeah,
thoughts and feelings and energy and breath, and that all of that has a huge impact on our quality of life. So I think people are willing to explore those more
yeah.
willing to explore
I
those
also
things.
believe like the neuroscience studies that have been done
It's
helps
incredible
explain it
work.
too. Like that's how I
Yeah.
speak a lot if I'm facilitating and I'm talking about
Yeah,
emotional intelligence or something like that. I just go to the science of it because then
of course.
so everyone's going to understand the science. And so neuroplasticity, and I really struggle with that word, so I have to say it really
Yeah,
fast.
neuroplasticity. Yes. Yeah. It's so important, right? To be
And
able to look
yeah,
to
the
the
RAS and,
logic.
yeah, and that's something definitely that you taught me. I was gonna leave this to the end, but I'm gonna share it now because I feel like it comes with the conversation. So we worked together 17 years ago, and when I first met you, I don't know if it was in NLP or if it was the Goddess Body Quest, and I was in my first marriage. Do you remember
Yes,
this?
I do.
And I remember saying to you, or it might have been our favorite person, B, as well, because her and I had like a
Long
grounding
conversations.
through NLP. What's it called in
You were
Twilight
students
when
together.
they, no, in Twilight where the wolf like does it with the vampire, they have I forget what's it called. Anyway, if I remember, I'll tell you. But if B, you're listening to this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Imprint. We imprinted on each other.
Imprint. Oh, yes. You imprint on each other. That's funny. Because you were both in my first student cohort when I was teaching NLP in that
Yeah.
mastery
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah. And we've been imprinted since. And so with that, I was talking about my husband at the time, and I didn't know I was in an abusive relationship. And this is
Yeah.
where a great coach comes in. And I was there saying, oh, I just feel like I need to improve myself. And I'm here to just know myself better and all these different things where I look back and I think, oh my goodness, Kylie was so patient with me. And I said to you something about it was like writing it down and the manifestation and the understanding of the science behind writing it down.
Mm.
And you said, why don't you write down your ideal man? I'm like, well, I've got my ideal man. I just need to be better. And then you said, well, why don't you write down your ideal husband? I don't know if you remember all of this.
Yeah.
And I wrote it all down and then forgot about it. And then the universe, then I ended up leaving my husband and I met my amazing Kyle. And when we were moving house, I found the book from NLP and I found what I wrote
The
down.
list.
I guess I'm feeling teary talking about it. And it was
Same.
Kyle to a T. And so this is where, like I say to people, like it's just incredible the impact a coach can have. And also if you are ready to do the work and create that manifestation, you're going to be able to achieve anything you want. I'm getting very emotional. And then
Oh,
also the person I was back then, like I often talk about things and especially explain about the scenarios I was in with my ex-husband. And I just I always felt like I was the person in the wrong and I had to improve myself. And I still see those things coming up now. And I often think about how I look at it differently because of the way that you taught me as my coach. Because when I judge myself, I then reflect and I'm quicker on being aware. And when people are unkind to me, I get really curious now. Very, very
yeah.
curious, where the growth of who I was back then and creating the person that I wanted to be took 17 years. as well.
Yeah.
So it takes a long time. Probably I've been here for a longer time than 17 years, but it takes a really long time. But I kept coming back and doing more and more work with you as well.
Yeah.
And then I just finished my Masters of Coaching. So then that was
So good.
really fun because I knew so much of it from you, but then it's just on a deeper level. Like you're always going to learn something new. If you go into a classroom,
teachers.
you learn ways differently. And so I think with the woo, so reverting it all the way back, with that part of people understanding the science behind how important it is to activate your mind to see what you want, you're going to be able to get anything you want. You might not get it right now, but it will happen. And if you have a coach that's not supporting that, that's not a great coach.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I think there's some interesting pieces about that because I can't remember if I might have said it in your NLP training, but it's like, why would you not want to be your best self and work towards that? Because the time is going to pass anyway. So it's like you can spend, it might take 5 years or 10 years or 17 years to get to the place where you're in your ultimate happiness, but that time is going to pass anyway. So why would you not want to be constantly improving yourself? It doesn't matter how long it takes as long as you're continuing to progress. And you've made huge leaps. It's like in those first few years, you made huge leaps and was like, oh my God, I'm like not even the same person. And then that just continues to compound and compound. And like now here you are running your own show and coaching leaders yourself as a master coach and coach of the year. Oh my God, it's so exciting.
Coach of the year.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think there's an interesting piece of like, now psychology is I just did a video on this on that we're now at the fourth wave of psychology where people are recognizing connection to spirit or connection to a larger consciousness beyond your conditioned ego mind self is critical to well-being, and so you can point to the neuroscience of it to help people understand. But I believe that everybody has some kind of seeking for something larger than themselves, even atheists, even agnostics, even like rampant skeptics. Like my husband is an atheist, but he spends so much time in nature and goes surfing and goes mountain bike riding. And he's like, I just love to go fast in nature, like downhill mountain biking and skiing and snowboarding and surfing. And it's like, once I realized that's his spirit time is when he's in nature and he's actually in flow. That's when his brain goes into that alpha theta wave that allows that kind of deep contemplation and kind of the loss of your dissolving of your ego self. And so whether you find that through extreme sports or whether you find that through meditation or whether you find that through prayer or whether you find that through breath work or ice baths or saunas or horse riding or singing, lullabies to your kids at night, whatever is your pathway to connect to something greater than yourself, I'm all for it,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And I think there's just a bit of a misunderstanding that spirituality needs to look like religion or it needs to look like something woo-woo. And so, yeah, I find it in the everyday, mundane, regular life. Like that's where spirit is really for me. It's in enjoying your life as it is and finding meaning in the small things. And that's really what all of those things are pointing to. It's like it's just different ways of pointing to having deeper meaning and awareness in your life. So I see it as something that we are naturally seeking. So I don't find people being resistant to me talking about it because I talk about it in a logical, regular way. I'm not talking about it like it's some magical thing or something that's different than normal everyday life. It's like it's integrated. It's a part of everyday life and people just come at it from different angles.
Do you find over the past probably about 6 years that there is more of an awakening to it as well?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like you look at just in the cultural shifts, right? You look at the cultural shifts in terms of things like the rise of psychedelic therapies again and people starting to access transcendent states through, whether it's through psychedelics, whether it's through breath work, whether it's through ice baths, and a lot of these kind of, I've spent a lot of time with biohackers lately. So it's like, that's
on top of your mind. Yeah.
that's just at the top of my mind. Yeah, right. It's like, but it could be through prayer, or it's like some way of reaching a transcendent state. And so when I look at societal changes, I'm looking at it systemically and going, okay, so there's more people that are having transcendent experiences of getting beyond their personality self and finding some like access to something greater as a direct lived experience, not mediated by a priest or a pastor or a spiritual guide or something. They're having a direct experience of something greater. And then through breath work, same kind of thing. And then I look at things like the internet, for starters, where we have access to talk to anybody anywhere in the world pretty much with a computer of all different cultures instantaneously. And so then I look at, okay, well, what Western cultured people call woo is actually just Eastern cultures, like whether it's Chinese or Indian, like most of the things that people call woo are actually just Eastern culture that is connecting with Western culture that is now starting to cross enculturate. So all of kind of new age philosophies are actually just Indian philosophies that come from the Vedas,
Yes.
So I think there's something as well that's shifted in terms of understanding that this is not woo-woo, this is just a different culture's science, right? And their lived experience and their thousands of years of cultural reflections and research and history that has been created into a specific set of philosophies and ways of living, similar to Chinese medicine, like acupressure points, meridian pathways, all of these things around that people have thought, ooh, Western culture has thought, ooh, that's a bit woo-woo, but it's thousands of years of Chinese culture and Chinese science and Chinese medicine that is now just cross-pollinating
as well. It's proven,
right? It's proven.
to work.
It's proven.
Yeah.
You can look at the science, you can look at the data. And so I think there's always going to be people who are closed-minded to these things. And that's fine. If you want to be closed-minded, that's fine. And there are always going to be people who are starting to open up their minds and their eyes to these things. And I think the more that people just get access to information around these things, it just becomes normalized. It's like, that's just the way they do it in that area, or that's just a different way of doing things. And I think the more that we start to see outside our own little siloed versions of reality, the better things are. And the more we can be tolerant and understanding and appreciative of other cultures, the better we're all off. And so I think there's more awareness. And then the other thing that kind of comes in is with AI. AI is an inherently integral systems level awareness. So from a spiral dynamics perspective, that's a level 7, level 8 influence on our culture.
To look at it that way.
Right? That's a level 7 and level 8 influence on our culture that everybody who has a ChatGPT account is getting connected to a systems level consciousness that is talking back to them. Granted, it is quite sycophantic and limited still in the way that it's influencing people. But if you're smart about how you talk to it, then you can get really, really interesting answers and have access to systems level thinking. And so I think that's also influencing culture and consciousness as well. So we're at a very exciting time in terms of culture and consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's why I came to Earth at this time.
To this earth to help us all rise. Help us all rise.
That's why I came in.
Queen Kylie.
That's very kind. I'm just part of the team, doing what I can, like all of us who are called to help in some way.
It's true. It's just such an exciting time. I've got 2 more questions. The first question is, my framework is embody. So it's energetics, mindset, body, ownership. So the first 3 you'd understand deeply. Ownership is like radical responsibility. And then direction is your intrinsic values, mission, and vision. So not outside of you.
Love
and
it.
then you, so your authentic self. So you can't get to you until you've done the other 5.
Nice.
When you
Yeah,
think about
nice.
that framework and the work that you do, and thinking about the difference between credibility and visibility, how would you, in your words, empower somebody through that framework to be both at the same time? So
Credible and
credibly
visible.
visible.
Credibly visible to be credibly visible requires embodiment. It requires you to have embodied your lessons, right? That it's
Your
not just,
lessons, yes.
right? It requires you to have embodied the lessons of your life and the lessons that you're being visible about. So there's a lot of people who are visible, who are, like we said at the start, who are being visible, spruiking lessons that they haven't yet fully learned, or regurgitating teachings that they only just learned yesterday, and they're
Yes.
regurgitating as if they're an expert. That's hilarious. I mean, bless. It's like everybody starts somewhere. That's fine. And I've now come to a point of like chill about this, where I'm like, well, everybody's on their path and the universe is going to, everyone finds their way eventually, type of thing. I'm a bit more zen about it than I used to be. But ultimately, so you can be visible without being credible, right? And you can basically be showing a false facade and a persona and a pretense of success or expertise that you haven't embodied. But that crack, and like those facades crack eventually. And you might be able to sell someone into a program based on visibility alone, but you can't keep them in the program unless you have the goods to back it up. We're seeing a lot in the coaching industry particularly, but it's not just the coaching industry, in all industries, where people now are looking more to reviews and looking up what is the actual credibility of this person, and do they have good reviews, and are they able to keep their promises and that type of thing. So the visibility without credibility, it's going to come crashing down sooner or later. You're going to have churn, you're going to have refunds, you're going to have problems. On the other hand, if you're credible and you have expertise, but you haven't yet worked through your own visibility stuff to share your credibility and your expertise with the world, well, that's just the next layer of growth, because your credibility often comes through your own research and your own self-realization and your own personal journey. And so visibility, true visibility, is almost like the last step in the puzzle, because it's like you become so credible and so competent that you get frustrated with all the people who are less competent than you, who are less competent than you, but more visible than you. And then you're like, God damn it, I've got to do something about this. And so then you cross that gap of like, okay, I need to showcase my expertise and I need to talk about it and I need to put myself out there, because I can't be mad at the people who are being visible, who are not being credible, if I'm not in the ring being visible as well, So I think
that's that big scary step too, hey, Kyles, because one of the things I talk about, and there's two things: it's be her until you become her. So actually be that person.
Yeah,
and the
live
other
as.
thing that gets me mad, and you spoke about this, about the crack, is like a lot of people say, just fake it till you make it. And I find
Do
that
not
that's
do that.
where a lot of my clients come to me, because they've gotten to this level of success and then they're like, I don't even know who I am anymore, because I was being this
They've
person I
faked
had
it.
to be, and now I'm cracking. That's really, really amazing. So just embody who you are.
Embody who you are. It's like, and I think there's like the alternate to fake it till you make it is like actually just live who you are and speak to your current level of expertise.
Yes.
And the mastery that you genuinely have, and help the people who are behind you. Because there's plenty of people who are behind you in your journey. There's people who are ahead and people who are behind. You don't have to pretend to be further along than you are, because that's going to create such psychological tension and stress inside your body, because you're trying to keep up appearances, to pretend to be something that you're not, and constantly waiting to be found out, like, oh, I'm an imposter because someone's going to find out that I don't actually know what I'm talking about. So, oh God. So just like, be who you genuinely are, speak about your genuine level of experience and expertise, and help people who you can help with your genuine expertise.
Yes.
And I think that particularly in like right now, in kind of the internet age where everybody is like, there's almost like now a backlash against the polished, absolute perfect persona because people are like, is that for real? Because so many people have been fake about it. So I think it's almost like the more real you are, the more authentic you are and telling your genuine story and showing up with real conversations like this one, where people can see, oh, this is a real conversation. These are people who have genuinely known each other. We haven't just like met yesterday and said, oh, let's pretend we've known each other for
Yes.
17 years. We have genuine life stories that we can share of our lived experience. And that's magnetic. And people can feel the integrity and authenticity in that, even if they can't necessarily put a finger on naming it specifically.
Yeah,
People
it's
get a
that
sense
energy.
when someone's being real or someone's putting on a front. And so I think the more that you can just be real and own your expertise, share your expertise and show up in that way, that becomes magnetic because your naturalness has its own charisma to it. So I guess that's where credibility and visibility meet, when you start to become magnetic to the right people for you because you're showing up as yourself, and then you become magnetic for the people who need your expertise.
Yeah, you're incredible. Perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Ta-da! So you've
And
got to embody it. You've got to
yes, gotta embody
embody
it.
your lessons, distill the lessons, and then you can share the lessons in an effective way to other people who are behind you on that journey.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
guess an analogy of that is those people behind you and not chasing it because, like, like you and I would be a really great example. Me trying to serve your clients, I would be a nervous wreck, my nervous system, because it's not where I'm at. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
me
There's
serving
clients for
my clients
everybody.
there. So just understand that as well. Like there's clients for everybody. Even if you're in a corporate role, there's roles for everybody. You will end up where
Yeah.
you're meant to be if you show up
Yeah.
as yourself.
100%. It's like the more you can be, I think authenticity is at an all-time low
Ugh.
these days
And people
because,
talking about it.
right? But it's not difficult to be authentic. It's like just the challenge is dealing with the insecurities, the inner
Yes.
insecurities, because it's not hard to be yourself unless you don't believe that yourself is enough. Right? It's like if you don't believe that yourself, just who you are, is enough, which most people don't believe. Like
Mhm.
most people have some version of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I
Mhm.
don't matter, I need to
I'm not
be,
seen.
yeah, I'm not seen, I need to be thinner or richer or whiter or more tanned or more blonde or have whiter teeth, or I need to have something. I need to be thinner and have a flat stomach or bigger boobs or more muscles or taller or whatever. Like everybody has some kind of insecurity. But the more you can deal with your own insecurities, the less you worry about them and the more you can just show up and be like, hey, this is me, take it or leave it. You know, this is me, take it or leave it. This is what I look like. This is how old I am. And this is my expertise, and you'll either like me or you won't, and I don't really care either way.
Yes. And
It
it's a
doesn't
great
make any
place to be
difference. It
because it's
doesn't make
taken
any
me a
difference to
long
me.
time to be there, but it's taken me a long time to get there. Yeah, definitely. And so,
Yeah,
Kylie, you're always creating something new
I
because you're
am.
magnificent.
I love creating.
And at the moment, you're creating Heart Alchemy, and it's a
Yes.
mini course. Tell me more about that.
Okay, so Heart Alchemy this is a kind of work in progress that has been about a decade in the making. And over the last 4 years particularly, it has just kind of, it's been something that I've taught even in NLP, like back to when I was teaching the drama triangle in NLP. Art alchemy is my process for transforming drama kind of relationships. But at its core, it's about shifting your coding for power.
Mm.
So, right, at its core, it's about restructuring, like Neo level matrix recoding your relationship with power itself. Because drama dynamics, the like victim, aggressor, rescuer, which is like in every single movie, in every single TV show, every like hero, villain, victim story,
Mm.
it's kind of embedded in our psyches from our childhood. But every problem in your life is related to some kind of drama, whether it's you with yourself, like, oh, I feel like a victim, so I need to rescue myself by scrolling or buying something or having sex or
All the
smoking or
things, yeah.
drinking or whatever it is, like whatever's your rescue of choice. And then you're like, oh my God, now I've got to deal with the impacts of the bad choices that I made. Or if it's having a dynamic with a partner or a child or a coworker where there's friction and conflict and you then become reactive and then you're like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Oh my God, I'm such a loser. Ah. These kinds of dynamics where you get amygdala hijacked, basically. It's like you get neurologically
Yes.
hijacked into reactive behaviors. And that keeps us kind of trapped in below the line behaviors of like being reactive rather than responsive, trying to blame the world rather than taking ownership and responsibility. And so I've worked out a way that allows people to very quickly recognize when they're in a drama triangle with themselves or someone else, and then collapse that and come to peace so that they have the courage to actually create what they really want in life instead. Right? So powerful, like become a creator, have a vision for your life and lead yourself first, and then others if you are a leader of others in a family or a business or a executive team or a company or something. And so it's been something that I've taught for a long time. And then in the last few years, it's really been kind of embodying its way through my life in a much deeper level. And so now it's like, okay, I'm ready now, 10 years after embodying this work for years and years and years and years and going through the ringer with it. Like heart alchemy is like broken hearted, bleeding heart, guarded heart. It's all the different aspects of how we can be wounded and then healing that. And so I've just realized that after doing a lot of workshops and certifications and teaching it in more private settings, that this work is too powerful to not create in a form that can be accessible to people in all walks of life and in all situations. So I've been building out a little online course for people to get the teaching transmissions and learn how to do this. So it's really, I feel it's like the most distilled and potent personal growth work that I've ever created. And it really distills everything that I've done over the last 23 years into something that's easily accessible, easily understandable, and highly practical and useful. So I'm excited to finish. I'm going to finish filming it tomorrow, and then I'll be starting to offer it to the world in the next few weeks. So it will probably be available by the time your podcast comes out.
Amazing. So it'll be in the show notes. So we'll have a little link
in the show notes. It will be in the show notes and very accessible pricing. I want to get this out to as many people as possible.
Amazing. So I'll be able to share it on my socials too for those of you that watch my socials and share the magic of Kylie Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kylie. And all the contact details and everything will be in the show notes of Kyle's as well. And it's just been the greatest honor to have this conversation with you and be able to share it with other people. And, I think more people need to have coaches like you and me.
Like us.
I've been taught by the best, so of course I'm going to be the best as well.
Of course.
There's been so many different journeys we've gone on in this conversation, and I really hope that people have gotten a really great takeaway for this.
Yeah.
And I'd love you to share with us, even message me or message Kylie of what you've taken away from today's conversation.
I'd love to hear it.
And something that I really am passionate about is what you become determines what you build. And I think that really wraps up what we spoke about today, that you have a choice to become who you want to become. It's not going to be easy. It's a rough road, I can guarantee that, but it's really rewarding.
Yeah, but it's
really rewarding. Yeah. And like Kylie said, what are you going to do for the next 15 years? Stay the same or just work on yourself?
Grow.
I know what I do.
Come on, let's do it. Just grow.
Just grow, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Kyle. See you.
Thank you, Danni. It's been an honor. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining me on the Danni Vee Show today. I hope you're leaving this episode feeling inspired and empowered. My goal is always to bring you elegant insights with a bold impact. If you enjoyed our conversation, I invite you to subscribe to the show and leave a quick review. Your feedback not only means the world to me, but it also helps other growth minded